How did the Iceman become such hot property recently? How did he take something as ordinary as breathing and turn it into one of the most extraordinary personal brands on the planet? And why is it so important to be a C word when it comes to challenger brand communications? This is Xtra-Ordinary Marketing. How are we? Welcome to episode 28 of Xtra-Ordinary Marketing, a series which explores how innovative brands are shaking up their industries with the most credible, creative and compelling comms around. I'm Simon Vincent, the ex-CMO, and in this episode I'm looking at Wim Hof, the Dutch extreme athlete and motivational speaker who's risen to prominence in the UK recently since featuring in a new BBC TV series, Freeze the Fear. Hofs predominantly famous for his breathing techniques, which enable practitioners to endure extremely cold temperatures. This, he claims, can help reduce the symptoms of several diseases as well as improve mental health. But here's the funny thing about Hof's method. At its essence, what he's teaching you is how to breathe and take cold showers. And if that sounds like I'm being flippant, I'm not. I've been trying his method myself for a few weeks now, and I can honestly say I've found it to be incredibly useful for increasing my energy levels and alertness. But the point I'm trying to make here is that there's nothing revolutionary about it. There's no specialist skill set required to learn how to breathe. He didn't invent cold showers. We're all able to do what he recommends, provided we have the bravery to give it a go and the willpower to stick with it. So what fascinates me is, how did he take something so ordinary and turn it into this extraordinary personal brand, one that inspires and energizes people all over the world? And if we can work out how he's done it, can we apply his tactics to the way in which we, as marketers and founders of innovative challenger brands, communicate? So as I said, I've been studying Hof for a few weeks, and I think I've distilled the power of his personal brand down to three things: credibility, creativity, and how compelling he is. Let's take them one by one. Hof is credible. He's allowed countless scientists to study his techniques and physiology, as well as spending decades studying a variety of different approaches on his own, including Tummo meditation and pranayama or yogic breathing. He's talked about this at great length, and it's clear he's done his homework. So, while some have questioned the science behind some of his work, no one could claim that Hofs made this stuff up on a whim, if you pardon the pun. This dedication to studying his craft gives him a credibility that helps others to place their trust in him. The second reason he's been so successful at sharing his message is the creative ways he's found of bringing it to life. Hof has run barefoot half marathons on ice and snow. He's also climbed Kilimanjaro wearing only shorts and sandals. These entertaining and eye-catching challenges are a great way of bringing his core message to the masses. They illustrate the key point that his techniques can help you overcome an aversion to the cold, but they do it in a way that doesn't require the audience to have to go into the science behind them. Finally, Hof's method has become famous because of who Wim Hof is. Though less than 6 feet tall, he is a larger-than-life character with an excess of hair all around the facial region and a questionable taste in fashion. But the way he talks is absolutely beguiling. His message is clear and concise and expressed with an amazing energy. In short, as a character, he is unbelievably compelling. As early as episode 1 of Freeze the Fear, Patrice Evra appears utterly transfixed by him, saying, "As soon as I saw Wim, he brought the beast out of me. I was straight away connected to him." Even Hof skeptics, people like Wouter van Marken-Lichtenbelt in his National Library of Medicine article, Who is the Iceman?, they praise Hof's passion and conviction. And so these 3 C words, credible, creative, and compelling, are the foundation of Wim Hof's personal brand. But they can also be the cornerstone of your company's communications, and in the next section, I'll explain how. Pablo Picasso said we need to learn the rules like a pro so that we can break them like an artist. In other words, learning the rules gives us credibility. This credibility, in turn, allows us the creative license to break them. And yet we all know people who are extremely creative and credible, but who never achieve the recognition they deserve. And this is because they are missing the third part of the trifecta, which is the requirement to be compelling. The UCLA professor Albert Mehrabian has conducted numerous studies into human interaction, and he's found that only around 7% of effective communication comes down to what you say. A massive 93% of how your message is received and how well you're liked comes down to how you talk and how you look when you talk. In other words, the vast majority of being an effective communicator is how compelling you are. Here's the thing. Credible, creative, and compelling can be linked to the 3 types of stories we are able to talk about as marketers: product, lifestyle, and brand. So, when telling a product story, our job is to be credible, to prove the effectiveness of the product in doing what it needs to do. So stats and data are a great way to do this, but where that isn't possible, you can still create a reason why your product is superior in some ways to alternatives within the industry. Pepsi's Taste Test Challenge is a great way of proving that more people prefer the taste of their product to Coca-Cola. When telling a lifestyle story, our job is to be creative. So lifestyle content takes the product and applies it to the customer's life, showing how it will make things easier, better, happier, whatever. Airbnb's product is an app on which you are able to book one of a collection of mostly bland rooms and apartments, no less. So what they sell is the lifestyle. From favorite places to grab coffee to the best tacos in the city. The great thing about lifestyle content is that the potential opportunities for applying your product to people's lives are often endless. When telling a brand story, our job is to be compelling. This means having confidence, clarity, and consistency in how we appear to the world. It means knowing that what we stand for and just articulating that time and time again. Wim Hof knows who he is and how he wants to come across. He just then does Wim Hof to the max. When Red Bull tell us time and time again that their product gives you wings, when they show extreme sports athletes flying through the air or Felix Baumgartner skydiving from space, these are expressions of Red Bull's brand and help us as brand custodians to feel an affinity for who they are as a company. Okay, so finally I just want to quickly address the question of why being extraordinary matters. It matters in marketing because that is what marketing is, right? In a world where our competitors can be based anywhere across the globe and having a genuine USP or first mover's advantage is practically impossible, it's no longer enough to build websites, make ads, manage communities, or do customer service in the same way that everyone else does. You have no option but to stand out. You must be extraordinary nowadays. And being credible, creative, and compelling in your communications is the way to do that. If Wim Hof can turn something as ordinary as breathing into an extraordinary personal brand, you can do the same for whatever you're selling. Okay, that's about all for this week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do like, comment, share, subscribe, review, or just high-five me if you see me in the street. I post a new episode here every week, each one exploring how an innovative brand is shaking up their industry with extraordinary marketing, so please do check back regularly. If you prefer more of the human touch, I'm available for client work, training sessions and speaking gigs. And to find out how to talk to me about any of that, you can visit x-cmo.com. Until next time, thank you very much for your attention.